Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Today in Titletown Packers podcast. My name is Griffin. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at AllDayPackers. And I'm joined today, as always, by my co-host Bron and Mason. You can follow Mason on Instagram and Twitter at PackerPosts and Bron on Instagram at LamboLeapers. And today on the podcast, we're going to be discussing the dominant win over the Oakland Raiders on Sunday. We're going to be looking ahead to this Sunday's matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. And we're going to be talking offense, defense, Aaron Rodgers, wide receivers, all things Packers on this Packers podcast. But first, as always, we have some news to go over. Our first piece of news here is Darnell Savage, rookie safety, has returned to practice. He missed the last two games with an ankle injury, and we've had Will Redmond starting in his spot mostly. But Darnell Savage is a full participant in practice again. It looks like he's on the path to play this Sunday. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, that's definitely a big piece we need to return to the defense. We saw some big plays break out last week against the Raiders, and we definitely need Darnell back in there to kind of man down that back end with Adrian Amos. Amos kind of struggled a little bit last week because he kind of had to make up for some of Will Redmond's incapabilities at times, and Will Redmond definitely, he's played well as kind of the fill-in guy for Savage, but we definitely need Savage in there to pair with Amos, and they'll both be at the top of their play once again.
Yeah, that big Darren Waller reception that brought him down to the 3, I believe that was Will Redmond's responsibility. I just think if this defense wants to get up to full speed and, live up to their full potential, we really need Darnell Savage back in the fold.
Yeah, you kind of notice when he is on the field, a lot of the field is shortened because of his closing speed and how fast he is all over the field. And Redmond obviously isn't that talented. Redmond's played pretty well, but we've definitely been missing Darnell Savage, especially in like the single high looks.
Yeah, you kind of touched on it, how big he is, not only just in terms of the pass defense, but he's definitely a huge factor in our run defense, and it's kind of been struggling since he's been out, and I think he's going to be a big piece to make sure, like, when guys get past Blake and B.J. Goodson and Oren Burks, when their running backs get past those guys, we're going to be able to tackle them, in that second line of defense. So definitely going to be a big part of our defense going forward, and we need him to be.
Yeah, we saw Josh Jacobs a lot of the time on Sunday kind of break off big runs. He had a 42-yard run, a couple 10-plus yard runs. So having Darnell Savage back would honestly be a big help because our run defense hasn't really improved. Even though we thought it got better against the Lions, it kind of went back to how it was. So yeah, having Darnell back would be super nice.
Speaking of big helps, wide receiver Davante Adams is still not practicing. He would definitely be a big help right now, although we are 3-0 without him, and we just played our best game offensively last Sunday. So I don't think the urgency is there like it was when the injury initially happened, but it just all Sunday, all you can think is watching us roll up and down the field. We only punted twice. You can only think about what imagine this offense with Davante Adams.
Yeah, and it looks like Davante is going to be a game time decision heading into Sunday night. So that'll be one important piece, obviously, that we need back in our offense. And Rodgers, his excellent play is compensating for what the lack of talent in the receiver room is bringing right now. But we definitely need Davante back to kind of take the load off of Aaron Rodgers, and kind of Davante is able to just make plays out of sometimes out of nothing, where Rodgers is kind of doing all the work right now. I think it'll be important to get him back. Obviously, just one of the best players in the league, at his position. Him returning would be huge for us. So he's definitely a guy we need back out there Sunday night.
Yeah, Kansas City definitely has a better secondary than the Raiders do. And, Aaron Rodgers was able to carve out that Raiders defense with, MVS, Jake Kumro, Alan Lazard, Jimmy Graham. But having Davante Adams would really help it. Davante Adams would probably attract, former Packer Bashaud Breeland or maybe Kendall Fuller. So,
and those are matchups you love. You love those matchups for Davante.
100%. Yeah, and being able to get Marquez Valdes-Scantling back in his usual kind of slot outside role, and just having the offense go back to how it was. Even though it was super explosive last week, it was the best week of the season so far. Having Davante would make it even better. So, if he can't go this Sunday, I think we'll be fine. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs don't look like they're going to have Patrick Mahomes ready, so it's not going to be as tough of a matchup as we thought it was going to be. But, if he needs another week off, I just feel like, this offense can handle it.
And speaking of Patrick Mahomes, he actually he practiced in a limited fashion for the Chiefs. So of course, you'd like to think that they're just kind of doing that to make the Packers have to come out and prepare for both Matt Moore and Patrick Mahomes. Uh, but it's definitely interesting to see him back on the field throwing after just dislocating his knee just a week prior. So uh, it's going to be interesting to see if he does come out and practice again, or if they kind of rule him out quickly. But the initial diagnosis was kind of 3 weeks for him at minimum, and the fact that he's come out and practice is definitely encouraging for the Chiefs right now. But I'm looking to see whether he's gonna do anything more in terms of running on that knee. Otherwise, I definitely think Matt Moore will be the guy for the Chiefs this week, and obviously that's good for the Packers.
I highly doubt Pat Mahomes' play. I mean, I don't think he's A, healthy enough, and B, I don't think the Chiefs would rush out their franchise quarterback with a dislocated knee and a sprained ankle that he's still recovering from.
Yeah, this isn't a game where you're gonna it's not like a game. It's not a must-win for them, and it's not a game where it has any kind of divisional importance or anything like that. It's against an NFC opponent in the Green Bay Packers for them, so it's definitely not a scenario where they need to get him out on the field.
Yeah, and obviously Pat Mahomes is definitely going to give their offense a real boost. He's the MVP of the league. But with Matt Moore there, we saw it on Thursday night against Denver. I don't think it's obviously a drop-off at the quarterback position, but I don't think it's a huge drop-off for their offense as a whole, like, unit, I guess. Because they still got weapons everywhere. They still got Tyreek Hill, still got Travis Kelce, still have a pretty solid offensive line. And Andy Reid, of course. So it's definitely going to be a game that's going to be tough to win, regardless if Pat Mahomes plays or not. But if he doesn't, we are catching a pretty big break.
Yeah, going against Matt Moore instead of Patrick Mahomes would definitely be a big difference. But with that, we're going to get into the Raiders game. Packers, came out on fire. Aaron Rodgers threw 3 first-half touchdowns and 3 second-half touchdowns, 1 on the ground. Packers ended up winning 42-24. Guys, what were your initial thoughts of the game?
My initial thoughts were just excitement over watching Aaron Rodgers play like an MVP again. It was just amazing. Enough. You can't talk about the performance enough. The perfect passer rating, 158.3, 420-something yards, 6 total touchdowns, 5 of them through the air, which is he hasn't had a 3-touchdown game since week 5 of last season. So it's just great to see this like rejuvenation of Aaron Rodgers, and especially it's so sweet after an entire offseason and really into this season a lot of time too of talk about Aaron Rodgers being washed. Aaron Rodgers not elite anymore, not a top 3 quarterback, whatever. It's nice to finally have a huge dominant statistical game from number 12 that we can finally use it. I was talking about this last week. I don't know how to like back him in a debate because the numbers aren't there for him, obviously, but it's nice to finally have a game where he explodes on the stat sheet, and it put him into MVP conversation for sure.
Yeah, in terms of statistics, he kind of jumped into the top 10 of just about every category, after that crazy statistical performance, which, I mean, he's played well this season for sure, one of his best years for us, but it just hasn't shown up in the statistics. So, after this game where he comes out with 6 touchdowns, 429 yards, he kind of jumped into that, statistical category, and now people are starting to talk about him in the MVP race. So, yeah, he definitely played his best game in the last, probably since about 2016. Just a huge game for him, and he kind of carried the Packers without Davante Adams once again, and a bit of a hobbled receiving core, with Geronimo and MVS. MVS really only played a few snaps, but he made the most out of them. But yeah, definitely a huge game from Rodgers, and we're looking forward to even more offensive progression and more production from Rodgers once we get guys like Adams and Sternberger back in the mix.
Yeah, in that game, we really needed Aaron to come out like he did. As we saw in the first half, the Raiders were really rolling on offense. Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs were kind of throwing and rushing all over us. Darren Waller was killing us. Just a bunch of big plays. And, Aaron Rodgers able to put up 6 touchdowns and especially the one to Jake Kumaro at the end of the half. That was a huge swing in the game. The Raiders were about to score. They're on the goal line with about 2 minutes left. And, fortunately enough, Blake Martinez pushed Derek Carr out, and the ball went in the end zone for a touchback, and we were able to get 7 points of our own on that drive. That was just a huge swing, and once the second half started, we didn't let off the gas. It's just awesome to see Aaron back in the MVP race. Obviously, we said a couple of weeks ago, we saw a quote that he just said he wanted to win, but putting up stats is cool too, and especially when we're winning.
We did the classic double up after the touchback, because what was it when Carr fumbled out of the end zone? It was like 14-10, I think, and they're at the 1 yard line, 2 yard line, about to score, and then huge turnover, huge touchdown to Kumaro, and then we get the ball first at the second, and we score again. And at that point, it felt like the game was just over, because Aaron Rodgers was just having a phenomenal day already, and it only got worse for the Raiders.
The most impressive stat to me was like how much he spread the ball out. Like he had 8 different targets, 8 different receivers catch a pass, and none of them caught less than 2 balls, and none of them caught more than 4 passes. So, and obviously Marquez Valdes-Scantling only caught 2 and put up 133 yards and a touchdown. It was just, without Devontae, seeing Aaron spread out the ball to all of his receivers and running backs and fullbacks was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that's the thing, man, with this new offense. It's not about we need this receiver, we need a guy Rodgers can trust, we need a guy we can rely on. With this offense, it's about spreading the ball out, it's about scheming guys open. Everyone coming out of the backfield catching passes, Vitale, Jamal, Aaron Jones. It's just the tight ends are a lot bigger, have a lot bigger presence in this offense versus Mike McCarthy's, but it feels so nice knowing we can come out like this, win 3 games in a row, look consistently good for the most part on offense, without Davante Adams, and it just gets you so excited thinking about what could happen when Davante comes back.
Yeah, and that's going to be huge for us, down the line, getting all these guys involved and boosting their confidence, like just spreading the ball around, getting, Allen Lazard, he's getting catches. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is getting his. Geronimo is getting his. Everybody's going to be getting confidence. Everybody, and when it comes down to when we need them at the right time, everybody's going to be able to make their plays and do their job, and that's going to be huge, especially when we have Davante back. We don't have to worry about guys not being able to come through when we need them, because they're all going to have experience with Aaron. Aaron's going to trust them all, and that's what's going to make our offense as lethal as it gets going down the line.
Rodgers was a lot less hesitant to throw. We talked about this last week or the week before, but we're not seeing him like turn down open guys like we were seeing a lot of last year. And I think a lot of people, including myself, were talking about this over the offseason, that with a new coach, with a new scheme, as Rodgers enters the later stages of his career, we need to see more of a pocket passer. We need to see more playing in rhythm, playing with your offense, not trying to be Superman on every single down. Like that's what we saw in 2018, almost every single game, and it was costing us. And it's so nice. We saw a little bit of that at the beginning of the year, because I don't think Rodgers was completely comfortable with the play calls. I don't think he and LaFleur were on the same exact page like they are now. But you look at Rodgers' highlights from Sunday, they were all in the pocket. They were all just throwing to the open guys, taking what the defense gives him, taking what the offense has open for him. It's so nice to see him not have to run around making these absurd throws, because we need that for our offense to succeed, because we don't, and it's nice.
Yeah, he's not making those absurd throws from outside the pocket as much, but he's still making them from inside the pocket. And he kind of talked about how this was his best pocket of the season, and you got to attribute that to just the absolutely brilliant offensive line play that we've seen. Obviously the 2 tackles on the outside, just they're playing nearly flawless right now. It's crazy to see how really Brian Bulaga has stepped up to the plate and kind of been just as good, if not better, than David Bakhtiari, the 2-time All-Pro. So, and then you can't say enough about the guard play right now. the last 2 weeks for Bill Turner have just been superior football from what we've seen from him in his entire career. And Elton Jenkins he's proved to be an excellent draft pick by Brian Gutekunst and company. And then obviously the Rocket in the middle, Corey Linsley, is just doing his thing. So it's the recipe for success for the Packers offense is just great offensive line play, let Rodgers do his job, and everybody else gaining confidence around him. And it's just going to make our offense, like I said, it's just going to get more and more lethal, as these games go on and as we get better.
Fun fact about the O-line, we've played 7 games, and Brian Bulaga has still not given up a sack, and he's only given up 9 quarterback pressures. And I think we all posted this on our Instagrams, but he's gone against some of the best pass rushers in football, and it's crazy how good of a year he's having. It's amazing.
It's incredible. He's playing at such a high level right now. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's probably he might price himself out of Green Bay. I mean, That's how good he's playing right now, and I hate to say that.
He is erasing people.
He is he's making people rethink everything that they've ever thought about how good he is. He's on a whole other level right now, and he deserves every cent he gets, whether it's from us or any other team this offseason.
We gotta lock him up. That's such an important position, the right tackle.
He's only 29 too.
Yeah, I know. It's not like he can't play anymore or he's getting too old. We're managing him well, during the week of practice, and he's obviously performing at maybe the best that he's ever played. So definitely a guy that we want to lock up, but hopefully, we're willing to pay what he deserves.
All right, let's kind of transition back to the wide receivers. As we've mentioned on the podcast a couple weeks ago, we've been speculating about these possible trades that we could make for wide receivers like Emmanuel Sanders or Mohamed Sanu or AJ Green. Well, this week Emmanuel Sanders was traded to the San Francisco 49ers, and Mohamed Sanu was traded to the Patriots. So those two guys, they were probably the most popular ones among Packers fans online. Those are both off the board now. But after Sunday's offensive explosion, do you guys think it's still an issue, our wide receiver 2 or 3?
You saw the Patriots and the 49ers, get those 2 receivers, and they're the league's 2 undefeated teams. So that's kind of what we were talking about a few podcasts ago, how kind of these teams that are, 6-0, these undefeated teams are trying to build on what they've done and kind of make a Super Bowl move, we called it, and get that last piece that they need. And it's interesting because the Patriots they lost Josh Gordon. Looks like they're gonna waive him after putting him on injured reserve. So that kind of makes more sense, that the move for Mohamed Sanu, that 2nd-round pick, that makes more sense for them now at this point. But the 49ers making that move for Emmanuel Sanders, they didn't have to give up too much in terms of draft capital. They kind of did a pick swap and a couple other things, but definitely a move that they're trying to make sure that they have a real shot to go far in the playoffs this year. And, if you're the Packers, do you make a move like that, or do you just wait for Adams to come back? And that's really the question. But I like to think that, after Brian Gutekunst, what he saw this week, it's definitely going to make him, think twice about making a kind of a trade for a guy that, maybe might cost more than what they were hoping for, like in AJ Green, or maybe a guy that, isn't much better than some of the guys that we have right now, like, one of the Miami receivers like Jakeem Grant or Devontae Parker, where they might not be worth even trading for, with draft capital. So I would like to think that Brian Gutekunst kind of cools down on the idea and, just lets our guys play. And when Devontae comes back, the receiver thing, it really won't be much of an issue.
Yeah, after seeing the trade price for Mohamed Sanu, kind of a 2nd-round pick for a 30-year-old wide receiver, and then seeing our wide receivers ball out on Sunday, I just think we got to roll with our guys right now. If AJ Green is, able to be traded for like a 4th-round pick, then we could talk about it. But I really think we have something in Allen Lazard. 6'5", he's playing really good right now, and we wouldn't have to give up a draft pick for a guy that would use for a half a year. So just based on Sunday, I think we'd be fine just rolling with our guys and waiting for Devontae to get back.
Yeah, we've got a lot of talent. Like, you just look at MVS, who, he'll make a big play every now and then. Allen Lazard is obviously making big plays. Jake Kumaro is there. He's going to catch, almost every ball that comes his way, and he's going to make a lot of big plays. Obviously, Devontae is, one of the league's best receivers. So we always have guys that, we can plug in, and one of them is going to always be on. You know what I mean? Like, we got guys that are going to come in and they're going to play well when we put them in and give them significant snaps. So I feel like, when Adams is back, we've got guys that can really play, and hopefully they just play well enough where we don't have to, go through an issue during the season after the trade deadline.
I think the Detroit game was kind of real learning experience, I guess, for the coaching staff, because you kind of realize, okay, Darius Shepard, maybe he doesn't have it right now at least, and Allen Lazard, he clearly does have it, and so he got more playing time. Kumaro got more playing time. So I think if we can continue to see Lazard and Kumaro grow, maybe they clearly do have a lot of faith in them. So if they can develop into just standard average wide receivers for us, then I kind of get that. But I still do think that another weapon for this offense would be a Super Bowl move, as we've called it, and I think it would propel us into like real like top 3 Super Bowl contenders.
Who are you looking at? I mean, after Sanders and Sanu, you're kind of getting into either too pricey or not worth trading for.
Yeah, I don't think you look at the field now, and I don't think there are any real guys that I would give up significant draft capital for. So I think we're not going to make a move at all now, especially with those two gone. But I do think one of them would have helped. And AJ Green, he's injured and reportedly going to be out for a few more weeks. So I don't think that's realistic either. But yeah, we're just going to roll with the guys we have right now. Hope they can come on down the stretch, especially with Devontae coming back. I think we're just going to stick with the team we have right now. I don't think Gutekunst is in the market for any specific player or any specific position right now. I think we're performing really, really well everywhere, really. Just like I don't think we really have a glaring weakness right now anywhere, really. But let's move back to the Raiders game. This is just, I don't know if I'm completely insane or just a paranoid Packers fan, but we saw Rodgers play really well the past 3 weeks with these receivers that he doesn't really trust or know 100%. And we've seen him have really good games in the past with these like no-name receivers. And I think that's something about Rodgers when he has wide receiver X who he really loves and he trusts and he wants to target a lot. I think he can kind of sometimes hold on to the ball a little bit more, turn down other options he might have because he trusts this wide receiver X to get open at some point. And last year we saw him do that a lot with Devontae especially, and it resulted in a lot of throwaways, sacks, yada, yada, yada. So am I insane to be a little fearful that maybe if Devontae comes back, it could potentially harm the flow of the offense?
No, I definitely don't think that's too crazy. I mean, I don't see it getting worse. I mean, with Devontae coming back, I don't see it, downgrading in any way, but it definitely could impact how he plays the game. I think, he might look to Adams a lot more often than maybe the ball spreading around, that kind of thing that we've been doing. Maybe that's not as prevalent when Adams gets back. Maybe it's kind of that feature of Jimmy Graham, Devontae, MVS, Geronimo, and then those other guys kind of fade out of the offense. I would hope that that's not the case, but he loves to look for Jimmy Graham. He loves to look for Devontae. He loves to get MVS and Geronimo his balls. So it's gonna be tough because that's definitely something to consider as a Packers fan. But obviously we want him back as soon as possible, and I'm sure we can figure it out from there. I don't expect anything like that to be the case. Just a better offense overall, just another playmaker that can get past any single corner in the NFL, and we definitely need a guy like that right now.
Aaron Rodgers is human. Once he gets Devontae back.
I disagree. I really don't think he's human, but go ahead.
No, he's a goat. But once Devontae comes back, in the back of his head, he's probably going to be thinking, I haven't had this guy in a month, and he hasn't had a touchdown all year. I guarantee there's going to be a little bit in the back of his head that, is telling him, feed Devontae, Try to get the offense back to.
Yeah, you're right. I completely agree. Get
Yeah.
him back into get him his touches, get him back into the fold, ease him back in, that kind of thing. I definitely think that's a good point there for sure.
Yeah, I know he's a professional quarterback, but things like that are probably, definitely in his head.
The best case scenario, in my opinion, would be Devontae comes back and no one changes their style of play from the past 3 weeks. And we've definitely seen the playbook open up a lot more recently. And I don't think it has anything to do with Devontae. I just think it has to do with the season progressing, and the offense obviously is going to get more expansive. So I think if we can give these looks that we've been given to Geronimo or MVS, I think if we can just substitute them with Devontae Adams, the play is only going to get better. It's only going to be improved versus some of these other guys behind him.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And something I was just thinking about, I'd like to see Matt LaFleur, when Devontae makes that return where teams can game plan for him and all things like that. That could be even this week. I think we should go run heavy in that game, because teams are really going to expect us when Devontae comes back to throw the ball, light them up, in the secondary. I think that'd be a good opportunity for Matt LaFleur to kind of be complex and really run heavily during that game, kind of pounded down their throats, let Adams ease back into the game that way, and also kind of throw them off a little bit. I think that'd be a good way to go about it.
That'd be a great game plan, man. And we've seen this offense, this team succeed in every way possible. We can literally pick and choose how we're going to attack a defense.
Yeah, a lot of the thing, teams want to be able to do, especially, the ones that are going into the playoffs and looking to contend this year. All those teams can win in multiple ways, whether it's playing defense at a high level, running the ball at a high level, throwing the ball at a high level, and we can really do all of those things. We've seen the defense win us games this year. We've seen Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams win us games, and obviously last week and other weeks we've seen Aaron Rodgers, win us games, as we've seen for his entire career. So winning in multiple ways is a common theme of teams that contend, and we can definitely do that.
We've also seen our defense win us multiple games.
Yeah. It's so nice. No one on this team feels any pressure. I mean, you should always feel pressure as a professional athlete, obviously, but it doesn't have the same feel as it did in years past, where it's like, we need to score on this drive because the defense isn't going to stop them twice, or we need to stop here because the offense needs to start clicking, or we need to be able to throw against this team because our run game is deficient, or vice versa. And there's nothing like that anymore this year. It's like we just roll with the punches. If the passing game's not working, well, guess what? We're going to run the ball. If the run game's not working, we're going to pass the ball. And if the offense isn't working, well, we'll just shut you down on defense, and it'll be a low-scoring affair like we saw in Week 1. This definitely has the makings of a Super Bowl championship contender. And as you've talked about, the offensive line, too, is performing at an extremely high level. They are the best pass-protecting offensive line, according to Football Outsiders, and they're not too bad in their run game either. They are, every week, it's just like these wide-open holes that any running back in the backfield can read. And the pass pro, as Aaron said after the game, it's the cleanest pocket he's ever had. And as we start to face these teams that don't have dominant front sevens like we saw in the first 5 weeks of the season, I think the O-line's only going to improve. And Elton Jenkins is playing really, really good football right now. As we've talked about, he's a contender for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Probably won't win it because he's a left guard, but he's just playing really, really good football. And I just think the offensive line is just goes right back to Aaron Rodgers and his performance. I think if he has a comfortable pocket, he's going to stay in the pocket. He's going to feel less like jittery to go out and run around because he doesn't have to. And the O-line, he feels, I guess, safe in it. He's not stressing about who's coming up behind him or anything. Because the past couple of years, last year especially with Byron Bell, Justin McCray, some Lucas Patrick playing on the interior. It's like as soon as he got the ball, there was someone right in his face, and it's from the interior too. So it would just wreck the entire play. Last year bootlegs didn't work at all. Design rollouts, none of it worked because we could not block for those plays. And this year we can, and it's really nice. And I think it's just helping Aaron Rodgers, obviously.
Yeah, since week 1, Aaron's only been sacked 7 times
Yeah.
after getting sacked 5 times against the Bears. So, and that's I believe Lane Taylor got hurt or got put in the IR after the Vikings game.
Yep.
That's once Alton Jenkins came in, that's kind of when the tide turned. So, yeah, very impressed by this offensive line.
Elton Jenkins just fits this offense so well. Like, he's so athletic, and he's a really good pass protector, and he just does a lot of things that Lane Taylor could do, just not at as high of a level. And I don't think Lane Taylor would be playing even if he wasn't on injured reserve.
I just want to touch on the play of Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams a little bit. Both of them are just playing extremely well right now. They didn't have many rushing yards this week, but you saw how effective they were in the passing game. Obviously, Aaron Jones made up for his drop 2 weeks ago on a beautiful catch. He made 2 turnarounds and just let the ball fall right into his arms. Beautiful touchdown catch. And then obviously Jamal Williams doing his thing out of the backfield, had multiple catches once again. So both those guys are playing well, regardless of whether they're rushing it or whether they're asked to catch balls out of the backfield. They're doing a great job, and obviously that's helped by the offensive line's play. Again, they're just dominating for us right now, and that's just making the offense so dynamic. Having 2 guys that can run the ball and catch the ball out of the backfield. Not 2 guys, actually. We can't forget Danny Vitale, who really played well last week. He's a great pass protector, and he made 2 splash plays for us last week. He's kind of flashed that, all off season. We were looking for when he was going to kind of return to the field, on passing downs to catch balls out of the backfield, and he did that twice this week. So hopefully we see more of that moving forward, and hopefully, these running backs also keep contributing in the passing game. It's just making our offense, like I said, super dynamic, and that's a big part of why we're having a lot of success right now.
If you notice in the first half, I think we were a lot more run heavy, and then it was very standard passing concepts, very standard power run plays kind of thing. And then in the second half, we just broke open the play action game. Like the first play from scrimmage of the second half was the play action rollout 50-something yard bomb to MVS. I was just elated when that happened. It was like, oh my God, this is a game plan.
That was incredible. That was after Rodgers had thrown 3 touchdowns in the first half.
Yeah.
That was just like, okay, this game is over. Like,
you broke out the book.
That was just an absolute bomb, and you just knew Rodgers was on after that throw.
It was amazing. And then, in the second half, the receivers started catching a lot more balls, and we kind of moved away from the running game. But I think that was definitely by design. I think we were beating up on them a lot in the first half, and then we were like, all gas, no break. That's like Matt LaFleur's little catchphrase now, all gas, no break. I love it. I want to see us do that every week. I never want to see us let up. I'm tired of us letting up. I'm tired of 3 runs and then punt when we have a 2-score lead.
All right, I'm pretty sure we're all in agreement. The Packers offense played their best game of the season by far last week, but the defense was a little shaky. A lot of big plays. We saw 3 receptions go over 30 yards, and we saw Josh Jacobs have a 40-yard rush and a couple 10-yarders. It was a little nerve-wracking at first. The Raiders were able to jump out to a lead if it wasn't for that Derek Carr fumble in the end zone right before the first half ended. But the defense looked a little shaky. A lot of big plays. The run defense didn't look good. Just not what we were hoping, but luckily enough, Aaron Rodgers was able to put up 42 points, and that was all, behind us.
Yeah, and the pass rush, similar to the Eagles game, it wasn't there for us. We didn't come down with a sack, which was odd enough, but we were able to still affect the passer at least enough where we were able to kind of keep them from doing anything too significant in terms of scoring points, getting close to the red zone and things like that. But our secondary kind of struggled at times. You saw Kevin King struggle a little bit. Same with Jair Alexander, against some of their receivers. And obviously the safety play wasn't strong. Amos had a rough game, and Will Redmond also had a pretty rough game. But obviously Adrian Amos has been maybe our biggest contributor in the secondary behind Jair Alexander for us this year. So he'll bounce back for sure. But definitely we need a better outing from the secondary, and the pass rush obviously needs to get there too, and they need to get home a lot more often, which they've been doing for us. But In games where we got to come out and win, they got to be a big factor, especially on third downs. At home, we should have gotten the job done there, I think. But I'm looking forward to getting obviously Darnell Savage. Hopefully, we can get him back. That'll kind of shore up the secondary, allow other guys to do their job, and also help the pass rush get home a little more often. So, but Griff, what do you think of the defensive performance this week?
I think the big thing with the defense, it was kind of weird to see them getting carved up like they were. But I think the big thing is Darnell Savage. I think he has a far bigger impact on this defense than a lot of people would think. Like we said at the top of the podcast, his closing speed is just ridiculous, and so he has a far greater impact on a lot of plays than someone like Will Redmond does. So I think if we can get Darnell back, which it looks like we will this week, I think that'll definitely help our defense because Will Redmond played okay versus Detroit, okay versus Dallas, but he had a pretty rough one against Detroit or against Oakland, excuse me. I think Oakland's offensive success was really just them out-coaching Mike Pettin, which was kind of weird because Mike Pettin is one of the best defensive coordinators in football right now, I'd say. And we've always seen Pettin come with – he's never had all the talent going back to last year. He's dealt with a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball. But we've always seen him have the right game plan at least, even if his guys couldn't execute. But this week was, I think, the first time that he's ever been out-coached, in my opinion. I was kind of hoping that Mike Pettin would have some kind of answer for Darren Waller. Not like he was clearly the Raiders' only like real threat to us in the passing game. So I was thinking maybe he'd try his best to erase him from the game. He did the opposite, actually. Darren Waller destroyed us, 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards. If you watch the game, you know how well he was playing. But we knew the Raiders were going to come at us with the quick passing attack. Derek Carr has the lowest adjusted net yards per attempt in the league. He has the highest completion percentage in the league because his throws are so easy, I guess. So we knew the pass rush would kind of be a non-factor. They made it especially a non-factor by double teaming and chipping the 2 Smith brothers on almost every single passing play, and our interior couldn't get home. So Derek Carr had a clean pocket for most of the game, and he was able to just pick us apart. And the only thing that saved us, as has happened before this season, is the turnovers. We're number 9 in scoring defense, and we're in the low 20s in total defense, which accounts for yards. I think that's just a perfect indicator of what our defense is right now. They're going to let you move the ball. You're going to get some chunk plays on us, but in the red zone, we really tighten up. We had a goal line stand, obviously the Carr fumble out the back. So we're going to tighten up in the red zone, hold you to field goals, and we're going to create turnovers, which we've done all year. And honestly, it's tough. Would you rather have the defense that shuts down offenses throughout the entire game, or would you rather have the defense that will give up some yards and create turnovers? It's a tough choice. Both can be good in some cases, but that's what our defense is right now for sure. They're gonna tighten up, not really let you put points on the board, but chunk plays are gonna be available.
Our defense has really been able to show that it's been able to overcome a turnover battle or a turnover differential. Against the Lions, we were -3 when it comes to turnovers. We didn't even have an interception or a fumble, but we still won that game. It was thanks to holding Kerryon Johnson under 40 yards and locking up Matthew Stafford after that crazy first quarter. And when you look at a game like the Dallas game, when we had a +3 turnover differential, I'm pretty sure Dak Prescott and Zeke both had more yards than Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers, and we obviously won that game as well. So, kind of get you a defense that can do both.
Yeah, you talk about our offense being multiple. Our defense is the same way. They're going to force 3 and outs some games, and they're going to create turnovers in some games. This team is so versatile in so many ways.
And that's extremely valuable when you're looking at down the line when we have games and guys get hurt, especially in the secondary. You see this with us. We have so many guys that can move around. I've said this many times. Tramon Williams can literally play every single spot in the secondary, and he's playing at a high level right now, and he's one of our most valuable players on defense for sure. And Jair Alexander and Kevin King are obviously our 2 guys at corner. and Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage at safety. We need that versatility to not only, you know, overcome injuries, but confuse offenses as well. And that's going to be important for, obviously down the line.
And it's the same thing with our front seven too. You got Z and Rashawn who can play 3-tech or on the edge, and you got Kenny who can play nose or D tackle. Yeah, it's just that's something Mike Penton does all the time. We've been talking about it since over the summer. He has a lot of fun with the versatility of the defense and the different looks he can throw at you pre-snap and the different movements he can make before the ball is snapped. I don't think Sunday should be is proof that our defense is overrated or whatever. I think it was simply Mike Penton had an off game. We weren't fully healthy, and the Raiders coaching staff just drew up a great game plan, I guess.
I mean, we have to definitely be concerned about what Andy Reid can bring to the table off a mini bye coming off a Thursday game. So hopefully Mike Penton kind of brings his A game, and so do the players, and hopefully Darnell's in there to kind of make sure our secondary's locked down. And it's going to be a challenge regardless. Like I said, regardless of who's at quarterback, whether it's Mahomes or Matt Moore, it's going to be a challenge because we've got that ridiculously good play caller. They've got the weapons. They've got a solid offensive line that's actually been dealing with injuries, but it's going to be a challenge regardless. And I'm looking forward to that defensive matchup that we have versus that Chiefs offense.
Let's actually move to the Chiefs game. I think we paid enough service to the recap of the Raiders game. Let's look ahead to this Sunday night. Packers going to Kansas City, taking on the Chiefs. Sans Patrick Mahomes, most likely. Should be a fun one of the most anticipated games of the season, obviously, for the Rodgers-Mahomes matchup, which probably won't be happening, but the Chiefs are still a very dangerous, very good football team. So are the Packers. So it's gonna be a fun one. What are you guys like? What are you guys looking for in this game from either side of the ball?
I'm interested to see how this Packer defense lines up against a Andy Reid-led offense. I know he doesn't have Patty Mahomes, but if there was a head coach / offensive coordinator out there that could, lead a team with a backup quarterback and with the weapons that the Kansas City Chiefs have, it would be Andy Reid. I'm really interested to see. We saw, like you guys were just saying, John Gruden really drew up a good game plan against us, and just those little plays, getting the ball out fast. And anytime we see a backup quarterback come to the league nowadays and win, it's because of that, just handing the ball off. And when they have to pass, making sure it's quick and not making them, improvise. And, that normally leads to a turnover. So I'm interested to see what Andy Reid comes up with. And hopefully Mike Penton is on his A game this time.
I'm looking at, what we can do on offense versus a really, a kind of a poor Chiefs defense that was, it came in and played well against the Broncos. I mean, that's not anything to really brag about when you're talking about Joe Flacco and that offensive line, which it's been good at times, but they've kind of struggled on offense overall. And, they played well last week, obviously holding them to only 6 points, but for the rest of the season, they've been kind of bad. And the offense that we're bringing to the table, hopefully, with some healthier receivers, whether it's just Geronimo and MVS getting healthier, or even if we get Devontae Adams back, hopefully we can kind of take advantage of that secondary, which does have guys like Tyrann Mathieu in there and former Packer Bashaud Breeland. But I do think it's a matchup that we should take advantage of, and hopefully we can get a lot of points on the board. That way our defense doesn't have to worry too much about how much they're scoring on the other side.
I think it's fair for us to be fearful of Andy Reid and the game plan he can come up with, but at this point, I think we have to respect Matt LaFleur. I think we have to trust him. The job he's done, I think we have to trust his ability to come up with a good game plan of his own. Because he's done it almost every week, especially without Devontae Adams. The different game plans he's drawn up. We've talked about the multitude of ways the Packers can win in on offense. So I think I'm excited for Matt LaFleur. I'm excited to see what he's going to bring to the table. I don't think it's going to be – it might be – I don't know. It might be another Aaron Rodgers explosion game like we saw last week. Or like you said, Bron, if Devontae is able to play, maybe it's a run-heavy attack to kind of catch him off guard. I'm really excited to see what Matt LaFleur can draw up going against Andy Reid, one of the best offensive minds in football.
Yeah, Griff, like you were saying, I really do hope the Packers, if even if we do get Devontae back, and even if we don't, I do expect Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams to have really good games against this Chiefs defense. They actually ranked 4th worst in the league when it comes to rushing yards allowed per game and rushing touchdowns. They allow 150 yards a game, and they've already allowed 9 rushing touchdowns on the year. So that's something I hope Matt LaFleur, implements in his game plan. And obviously, as we all know, once you establish a run game, we can get Aaron Rodgers going, and that's when things get dangerous.
Yeah, and something I've been thinking about, about this Chiefs team is the turnover that they've had at pass rusher with Dee Ford and Justin Houston being let go, and bringing in a guy like Frank Clark, who had a lot of success last year, but has struggled a little bit to start this year apart from that Broncos game. So that's definitely going to be interesting. They've that was a decision that a lot of fans of the Chiefs kind of struggled to see what they were doing there. It didn't really a lot of fans argued that it didn't really improve the defense, and it might have even gotten worse, and they kind of lost picks for it. So I don't know. What do you guys think about their turnover at that pass rushing spot?
We faced a lot of good pass rushers in 2019, and we have maybe the best tackle duo in the NFL right now with Bakhtiari and Balaga, how they're playing. So I don't think it's going to be a huge factor, but the like Mason was saying, the run defense is 4th worst in the league, but their pass defense is actually 4th best in the league according to Football Outsiders. So I think this is definitely going to be a game of pounding the rock, just running it with Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones. So then that opens up the play action game, which they're more susceptible to. So I think that's how you take away pass rushers. That's how you take them away. You run the football, you run right at them, and then you play action them to death, like we did against Oakland. We set up the run, we established the run in the first half, and then the whole passing game just explodes in the second half.
Yeah, and I'm going to shift to the Chiefs' offense a little bit and just talk about the weapons that they have and the guys that they're going to bring out there. And I'm looking at Travis Kelce. You saw Darren Waller come out and play really well against us, and I mean, Travis Kelce is a whole different animal as well, so he could have a huge game if we don't kind of adjust, and Mike Pettin doesn't kind of set up a game plan where we can stop him. And obviously Tyreek Hill, he's a burner, and I think Jair matches up well with him, though. King, obviously, I don't think matches up as well. He's got the height, but I think Jair really does match up well. I mean, he's got the speed to keep up with him. They're similar heights, so Jair doesn't have any disadvantage there. And I think Jair is a physical guy that really nobody as physical as Jair Alexander has faced Tyreek Hill, and I think that could kind of it would help kind of stimulate, not stimulate. It would help kind of it would definitely help contain what Tyreek Hill can do to any opposing defense. And then obviously Sammy Watkins on the other side, similar style player. So it's going to be a good matchup, this Packers defense versus the Chiefs' skill players and talent on the offensive side of the ball.
Tyreek Hill is obviously the major concern amongst Packer fans because there's no real cornerback who's stopped him completely. It's always been kind of like a double team thing. And if Darnell Savage were still injured with the ankle injury, I would be much more concerned than I am. I think with Darnell playing, it adds a dimension to the defense where we can erase a player if we want to. It doesn't matter if he's as talented as Tyreek Hill is. I'm hoping I don't eat my words on this like I did with Darren Waller last week. Vulnerable in any area like we were with him on the field. So I think if maybe the Raiders game was a good learning lesson for Mike Pettin, knowing that, okay, if I would have done this against Darren Waller, we would have stopped him, would have stopped the offense. Maybe he can apply that to the Chiefs. Obviously, like you said, Kelce's a different animal, but I'm really hoping we have a better defensive attack than we did against the Raiders.
Yeah, for me, the Chiefs game, I'm really just looking for this to be really an offensive battle. I think regardless of whether it's Mahomes or Matt Moore, I do think that the Chiefs have that offensive talent to kind of go toe to toe with our defense and vice versa. So I expect a high scoring game, and I expect the Packers win. I really do, and I think Rodgers is going to play very well this week once again and kind of cement himself in the MVP conversation. Maybe take the lead in that conversation. And I do expect, even if Davante Adams doesn't play, regardless, I expect us to come out, play well on offense, and kind of win in a shootout. What do you guys think?
I'm expecting the opposite, honestly. Well, not the complete opposite. I think we're going to score a lot of points, but I think our defense is going to play really, really well against the Chiefs. It's kind of like a throwback to the beginning of the season when we got all those cupcake quarterbacks like Cousins, Trubisky, and Flacco. Matt Moore's the same type of guy who he hasn't started a game in a while. He doesn't know the looks as well as Mahomes does, obviously. And so when Mike Penton plays quarterbacks like that, it almost always goes well for us because he's going to confuse them, like I said, with the versatility, the different pre-snap looks, all that stuff. He gets really experimental with that, especially against inexperienced quarterbacks like Matt Moore. So I think our defense is going to play pretty well. But you never know with Andy Reid, all the weapons they have, they could definitely still score a lot of points. But that's not what I'm expecting.
Yeah, I'm with you there, man. For me, I'm just kind of looking at the Packers defense, getting back to how they were playing those first 3 games. And, when you're going against a quarterback that's, not so high caliber like Matt Moore is, he's a 35-year-old longtime backup quarterback. You hope we can get some pressure on this guy and make him try to, improvise and hopefully come up with some turnovers because, who knows? Obviously, Andy Reid is going to have a game plan. He's going to try to make Matt Moore comfortable, make him, hand off the ball a lot. And when he has to throw, get it out quick. But, that's not always how it goes. If the Packers are able to get pressure and make Matt Moore try to, scramble outside the pocket, I really don't see the things going well for the Chiefs. And, once the Packers get 2 or 3 turnovers, that's more than likely Aaron Rodgers and the offense are going to capitalize on those. So I'm really looking for a Packers win here. And, I hope it isn't a problem. Arrowhead is a tough stadium to play in, but, I really think the Packers got this one.
If you're looking at, if Patrick Mahomes doesn't go, you're looking at a completely different quarterback, it's going to be interesting to see what Andy Reid has in store, in the playbook, really, how much he opens up that playbook for him. It might be a lot of basic stuff that because he can't do these elaborate things that Mahomes is able to do, he can't expect Matt Moore to make the throws that Patrick Mahomes makes. So I think, obviously Matt Moore is not the scrambler that Patrick Mahomes can be, and he's not as effective outside the pocket. He's definitely a pocket quarterback. So I think that's definitely where our pass rush is going to thrive. I really do think it's going to thrive this week. Their offensive line is really banged up right now, and like I said, Matt Moore is a pocket quarterback who doesn't have much footwork ability outside the pocket. So I do think we're gonna have a big game in terms of the sack numbers this week and the pass rushing numbers, and hopefully we can kind of take out their run game as well with that offensive line that they have banged up. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that aspect of the defense, but I'm still pretty confident in the fact that the Chiefs have a great play caller in Andy Reid and they're gonna get their points.
Going back to week 5 against the Cowboys, the Smith brothers and the Packers front 7 have gone against backup tackles in every game since then. And looking ahead to this Chiefs game, Eric Fisher has been a limited participant in practice with a groin injury. So if he's not able to go, which we don't really know at this point, that could be the 4th straight week for the Smith Bros against a backup tackle. And obviously the Raiders were missing Trent Brown, and John Gruden and Derek Carr countered that by just getting the ball out. Like I said earlier, they were chipping them, double teaming them, and just getting the ball out quick to counter against the pass rush. And if we could see a similar game plan from Andy Reid, especially if Mahomes can't go, just giving his backup quarterback Matt Moore some easy completions like Gruden did with Carr, and just making the pass rush a non-factor. But at the end of the day, this Chiefs offense is all about the big plays. It's all about the big explosive passing game with all their weapons on offense. So I don't think we're going to see a game plan that's exactly like the Raiders, but I certainly think that'll be a main factor of it, the quick passing game to kind of erase our pass rush against a banged up O-line.
What are you guys thinking for the score of this game? I'm thinking, like I said, I think it's going to be kind of a high-scoring game. I'm going to go 35 for the Packers, and I'm going to say 23 for the Chiefs. What do you guys think?
Give me. I don't know. I think we've been seeing our offense improve every week, but I don't know if you can. I don't think you can get better after last Sunday's performance. But I'm thinking right now, Packers win 38-21. That's bold. That would be a big win for us, but that's just how I see it going. What about you, Mason?
I was gonna go with the Packers scoring 38, but I'm gonna be crazy. Packers 41, Chiefs 24.
Ooh.
I'm crazy, I know.
Man, that on primetime Sunday Night Football, that would kind of propel Rodgers right back into the MVP race.
If he plays well,
that'd put the Packers at the top of the NFC probably. I mean, that's a team that it's a really solid team in the Chiefs. Even without Mahomes, they're impressive. You saw them get that win against Denver, a big win against Denver without Mahomes. So a win like that, it really would be huge for us in terms of just like overall just standing in the league. I think we'd be considered one of the top 2 teams in the league.
If we can see another great Aaron Rodgers game like we did against the Raiders, against the Chiefs defense, then I definitely think on primetime, like you said, I definitely think I would put him in the top 5 or top 3 of the MVP discussion. Especially if guys like Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson have another off week. The MVP discussion means absolutely nothing in week 8, but it's a fun thing to talk about. And who do you guys think has the best chance right now at winning MVP?
Yeah, for me, the MVP right now it's got to be Aaron Rodgers. I mean, the stats won't show that right now. He's in the top 5 in some categories, but he's just played out of his mind this year. And I mean, obviously the stats showed that last week, but and then now he's starting to get that nationwide recognition. But he's really just been the best quarterback in the league this year so far. And now that Mahomes has gone down and he might not play for a few weeks, I think Rodgers is kind of propelled into that spot. Russell Wilson kind of had a rough game last week in a loss to the Ravens. I think Rodgers just kind of surpassed everybody. He's now in that spot where if he comes out and keeps playing really well, it's kind of going to be tough for him to lose it at this point.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be a homer here, but I'm also going to go with Aaron Rodgers. Just, the leaders last week, we're saying Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Christian McCaffrey, but Patrick Mahomes is hurt now. We think he's going to miss 2 to 3 weeks. Russell Wilson just lost to the Ravens at home. And then all of a sudden, Aaron Rodgers, out of nowhere, has a 6-touchdown, 429-yard game. And, he's got the second best record in the NFC and has the stats to, back him up. So, if the season ended today, there'd obviously be a conversation for Aaron Rodgers to win MVP.
I don't know. I think it's a little too soon to say if the season ended right now, Rodgers would win MVP. Right now, I'd probably go with Russell Wilson. I think he's having a phenomenal year. Obviously, played pretty poorly against Baltimore, but just like one game shouldn't put Rodgers at the very top, I don't think one game should bring Wilson all the way down. But yeah,
that's a good point.
If Rodgers can keep it up, I definitely think he will be in the mix. And honestly, it's not a bad bet right now to say he's going to win the whole thing. Just the way this offense continues to improve every single week. If we can keep winning, especially because that does factor into who wins MVP, obviously. But yeah, right now I'd probably go with Russ, but Rodgers is not far away at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, if you're looking at let's say we go 13-3, and that's the best record in the NFC. Regardless of how Rodgers plays, if he's playing at the high level that he's playing at right now, it's going to be tough for voters to not put him in that spot, considering his pedigree and just how great of a player he is. So I do think it's pretty likely that he comes out and wins it. Even if we don't, let's say we go 11-5, kind of fall off a little bit. I still think he's got a great shot to win it if he keeps playing at this level. So, and it's nice, we haven't really talked about this much, but we're 6-1. The odds that we make the playoffs here, it's looking pretty good. I mean, the schedule starts to get tough in terms of we got a lot of road games ahead, but I mean, it's nice to kind of sit back and think, we had 6 wins last year total, and we're sitting at 6 right now, and we haven't even made it through halfway through the year yet. So I don't know. What do you guys? I mean, what do you guys think about how relieving it is to just be in a spot where we can just start to, like I've said many times, we're just getting going on offense, and we are 6-1. It's really incredible.
I mean, yeah, those games, like we were saying at the time, those big wins, the divisional wins at the beginning of the season were huge because we weren't clicking at all on offense, and we were still able to get the W's there in those huge games. So it's really nice winning those games, and now our offense is clicking, and we are rolling offensively, and Matt LaFleur is just starting to open the playbook up a little bit more. He's starting to build off of his tendencies. He's starting to the illusion of complexity. He says it all the time. He's set up the plays, and now he's starting to work off of them. We had multiple plays on Sunday that were just variations of different plays we ran during the season, but maybe it's instead of a run, it's a play action look, like the one to Vitali or the one to Geronimo that he was almost a touchdown. We're seeing a lot of that now, and I think the playbook is only going to get more expansive. I think I think he's only going to improve throughout the year, as Devontae Adams too. Devontae Adams is going to come back. We're going to look even better. I'm just so excited right now. I haven't felt like this since 2016.
Yeah, being 6-1 right now compared to last year, I'm pretty sure we're sitting at 3-1 going in the Rams game when the Rams were undefeated. It is just such a relief. Like, we were going into week 8 last year as kind of like a must-win situation already halfway through the year. And last year we were just losing games to really bad teams, and then the Packers would tease us when we'd go neck and neck with good teams like the Rams and the Seahawks, and finally we're able to put these good teams to rest, and we're able to win games that we should. And being 6-1 is just a blessing. We don't really have to worry about anything right now. We just got to keep playing our game. It's nice to see.
And with that, we'll end it here for this edition of the Today in Titletown Packers podcast. Thanks to my co-host Griff at All Day Packers and Mason at Packer Posts. I'm Bron at Lambeau Leapers, and thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Go Pack Go.